Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us at UC Merced as we do our presentation online with UROC, the Undergraduate Research Opportunity Center here at UC Merced. A quick introduction for me. My name is Ricky Hill, and I am the e-recruiter at University of California, Merced, and I will also be your moderator today. So what I'd like to share with you first are just a few tips for how you can participate with us. You can do that by clicking on the raise hand feature at the lower portion of your screen. That will raise your hand, or you can lower your hand as well using that same button. If you'd like to join the question and answer session, you can do so by clicking the Q&A button. You can enter your question and then just select send, and we will get that question and try to answer that during the presentation. We will also have a live Q&A towards the end of the session as well. Also, if you would like to adjust your audio settings, you can do so in the lower left corner of your screen. You'll click that option, make the needed adjustments as you see fit. You can also click view options at the top of your screen, and that will give you the ability to either make your screen full size or something smaller to your preference. At this time, I would like to go ahead and hand it off to my colleague, Jorge.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jorge Arroyo. I currently serve as the director for UROC. I've been at UC Merced almost 7 years, and with UROC just over 5.5. Currently serve, as I said, as the director, but I was previously the STEM coordinator. So I have a lot of experience working with our student population at UC Merced, and have a strong passion for helping students and helping particularly with their next steps after leaving UC Merced. So I'm also joined with a couple of my coworkers who you'll meet next. Take it away, next person.
Hi, my name is Valerie Anderson. I'm the SHA coordinator for UROC, and so I work with all of the students in the social sciences, humanities, and arts. The two programs that I coordinate are the UROC H program and the SHA SURF program. I've been at UC Merced for a little over 5 years, and with UC Merced and with UROC for about 3 years. Emily?
Hi, everyone. Hi, sorry. My name is Emily Hing. I am the STEM coordinator for UROC. I am also an alum of UC Merced, so class of 2011. I've been with UROC for a little over a year now. I coordinate and manage undergraduate research outreach, retention, and recruitment for our sciences, engineer, technology, and math undergraduate scholars. I also provide academic support and support for our scholars with graduate school preparation. At this time, Valerie and I will turn off our camera and hand it over to Jorge. If you do have any questions please feel free to type it in the Q&A box, and we will get back to you while Jorge is presenting.
So I do want to say that this presentation is geared towards our transfer, reentry, and veteran students. If there are any traditional first-year students, the information about our programs and about research at UC Merced is still applicable. But you can disregard some of the warnings to get started immediately. As traditional first-year students, you have time to transition and get familiar with the campus. But as we go over the presentations, I'm going to continue to reiterate for transfer and reentry students to really get in with us as quickly as possible due to your shortened timeline at the campus. So I wanted to put that out there as a disclaimer for anybody that's joining us today. So as you saw, or as you already have seen, two of the coordinators, along with myself and a program assistant, make up the staff in UROC. This is our contact information. You can feel free to call us or email us. Unfortunately, due to COVID-19, we are not in the office, but we will set up individual meetings with students if you are interested. And if you have an interest with contacting us further, you can also schedule meetings with us once you get to campus to discuss your research interest and find out more information about the programs that we have in our office. This is also our social media information. This slide will be up at the very end, so don't worry about rushing. But if you want to take a quick screenshot, so you have this information later, this is how you can follow us on social media for information about our scholars, our programs, and upcoming events. So throughout the year, we have multiple opportunities for students to meet other undergraduate researchers as well as faculty. And we will also support students during the application process with multiple workshops. So this is where we make a lot of our announcements. We also have a general email address that you can contact any of us, and all of the staff have access to this. So somebody will get back to you as quickly as we can with general questions. So the first thing I like to cover is, why is research important? Particularly at UC Merced, we have seen a lot of great benefits for our students. These are some of them that we've identified through our programs over the years, particularly supporting students who come from first generation, low income, underrepresented minority backgrounds, particularly as they're thinking about their next steps, going into career in industry, public sector, or graduate school, which a lot of our programs emphasize. So you'll see graduation rates having increased for the student population that have participated in research, as well as the opportunity for networking. So in addition to the research projects that you get through our programs, you have other benefits as well. So if you are in that pool of students that are thinking about your next steps already, definitely look at our programs as a way to make yourself more competitive for your next steps. One of the things I do identify with this is that we operate in a cohort model, so you get connected to a group of students who are on that same path. So you find people who are going to encourage you and build you up to make sure that you are all growing together. So each summer and through the academic year as well, our students are really supported with other peers through organizations, through our research programs, in addition to having that research experience, which is really helpful. So UROC is the umbrella office. You'll see from this slide that we oversee the programs that are hosted on campus at UC Merced through our office. So you'll see them broken down by the different discipline specific areas, as well as the opportunities that are open to anybody. And we're gonna go more in depth in the next couple slides about our programs, but they all feed into our Summer Undergraduate Research Institute, also known as SURI. So you would be in a program that participates in SURI during the summer. The important thing to note is that it is 9 weeks. We do not allow students to take summer session courses, and we don't typically allow you to work part-time because we want you to really focus and engage on the graduate school preparation and fully engage in your research project. So that is kind of like the big overview. As we go into the other slides, you'll get more familiar with the programs, but wanted to give you this as kind of a starter for how we structure the programs and what it feeds into. As I mentioned, SURI is our institute where students participate in research during the summer. But as I said, a lot of this other development and growth is in multiple areas: professionalism, communication, graduate school preparation, as I mentioned. The other piece of this is a lot of our students come in a little shy sometimes, maybe not comfortable with speaking in public spaces. We give a lot of practice and support our students with that area of growth. And so this is one of the things that we really highlight as an opportunity for students to be prepared for that next step. So in the next couple slides, I'm going to cover specifics about our programs. There are some specific things for each program, and then there's general program standards that kind of cover multiple programs that have some like basic similarities. So the way that these are broken down, and I'll start with UROC H, which is our Humanities and Humanistic Social Sciences program funded by the Mellon Foundation. This is specific to students that are interested in research in the humanities and humanistic social sciences. So if you are a bio major, you could participate in this, but it has to be in a research area that is in humanities. Typically, we're going to push students that are in STEM or in other disciplines to our other programs, but we have had a few students that were really set on this and wanting to do research in these areas, and we have allowed that. Just know that it is very specific to the type of research, and if your interests don't align with the program, we will encourage you to switch to one of our other programs. Similar, or in addition to being humanities focused, this is the only program that we do a fall selection for. So in comparison to our other programs which have a spring selection, I made sure that this was identified, that the application period for this one is October 1st through October 31st. So if you are incoming this fall, just know that if humanities and humanistic social sciences are of interest to you, it is going to be important for you to get into meetings with us and start discussing research quickly. This program guarantees $1,000 for travel. So going to a conference or a symposium to present your research. This program also offers $500 in project research or research project support. So not all programs guarantee it. The majority of our programs offer it as like up to, but this one guarantees that funding. The rest of the program standards that you'll see in some of these that I'm not going to continue to cover for each program because they are similar. As I said, 9 weeks in our SURI experience, $3,500 stipend. So we pay you, which is why we don't allow you to take classes or work part-time. And graduate school professional development. So I said that before. But these are specific workshops that we identify as areas that help our students be prepared and competitive for their next steps. The other similar program standard that comes with all of them, it's like a basic package, is our summer symposium, where you will present either a poster or oral presentation. So all of our programs get that experience. Okay, so that is the UROC program. The other thing that I want to identify is on the bottom of the slide, you'll see the little butterfly. That is the logo for our undocumented, our services for undocumented students at UC Merced. The programs that have that butterfly on the bottom corner are open to undocumented students. So if you see that, it's open to you. If you don't see it, there's possibly a restriction. So that's something to keep in mind as we go forward. All right, the next program is our NSF Camp Program. This is a California Alliance program, so all of the UC campuses participate in this. It is funded through the National Science Foundation. So this is a federally funded program, and it's specific to STEM. So science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So you have to be in that kind of, or in that discipline in research. So it's very specific to that. The other piece of this, because it is federally funded, is that you have to be a US citizen. So you do not see the butterfly at the bottom right corner. The other program aspect to this is the Camp Symposium. So this is a research experience or conference for all students in the camp program. All campuses support students going to present their research, and that symposium is a great opportunity to network for graduate schools because you're going to be judged by faculty at those other institutions. As I said, the rest of the program standards are listed there. The next opportunity is our partnership with the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory and Department of Energy. The Joint Genome Institute, also known as JGI, is one of our partners in a program that supports students with data science and doing research, particularly around computer science and engineering, as well as data analysis. So the data science program on our campus is really focused on Department of Energy and the Lawrence Berkeley Labs. It's a great opportunity to get connected to national laboratories if that's an area of interest for you. And it is one of our programs that we do encourage previous research experience because they don't want to teach you the basics of coding. If you have any Python, R, or C++ coding experience in any of those languages, definitely a plus for your application. But we do want you to have some experience with research prior to applying to this program. It's one of the only ones that we do require that. There's one other program that I'll cover later. Okay. So this next program is UC Leads. This is another system-wide program. So across the UC campuses, students are supported to conduct research. This is our 2-year program. So you are eligible for this as a transfer and reentry student, as long as you're planning for a 3rd year, at least a 5th semester. So keep that in mind, is that even if you are continuing into your next year, so say you don't join research your 1st year, if you come back to us and you're still planning for another semester or another year, you are still eligible for this. If you are not planning to come back, you are not eligible for this program, and you can still apply to UROC, but we will push you to our 1-year programs. This is another research program that is, again, focused on STEM. There is $1,000 similar to the UROC program. This does offer $1,000 in guarantees travel funding for students. And this one is also open to undocumented students, the butterfly in the bottom corner. Oh, the benefit of this, your 1st year, you're at UC Merced. Your 2nd summer, you get to pick which other UC campus you want to go do research. So if you're thinking about grad school and you're maybe wanting to make some connections and start networking for graduate admissions, it's a great opportunity for you to go do research at that other institution. Okay. Now moving on to our very open programs. So SURF is an internally UC Merced funded program. It is open to any major, any discipline, any type of research that you want to jump into, even if you are switching from outside of your major. Citizenship is not required as part of this funding. So that is a great opportunity for students that are coming, and maybe, as I said, you aren't in your 1st semester getting into our programs. You can come back and join this program later. We have had a few students that were graduating that spring and continuing on into research that summer. So you can also look at us after, or if you're planning for transition between undergrad and grad school. We will support students that are coming back as a priority, but you can look at us later. Particularly for transfer and reentry students, we will consider your application more heavily because we know that you were on a strict timeline and maybe you weren't eligible or able to join us previously. So we want to make sure that we give you some research experience before you leave. All right, so our other program that we do require previous research experience is our SOAR program. So we created this in addition to our SURF program. It's open to any student who is in any discipline or any major. US citizenship is not required, but because this is supposed to be our advanced program, we do want students who have previous research experience. And that can be from a previous institution, a previous summer experience, or even at UC Merced, you're conducting research with a faculty member during the academic year. You are eligible for the program later. If you're brand new to research, we would encourage you to apply to our other programs because this isn't considered our advanced program. Okay. The only main difference is that we require 2 letters of recommendation for this program. All of our others, as we'll cover in the next few slides, only requires 1 letter of recommendation. Okay, this one requires 2. So now that I've talked about all of the programs, wanted to highlight this. On our UROC website, uroc.ucmerced.edu, if you click our programs page, you'll see this diagram to help you navigate your path at UC Merced. So as I said, if you're new to research, you're gonna follow a path to specific programs that we consider entry programs. If you have previous research experience, you're gonna follow that top line and you're gonna look at those 2 programs that do require previous research experience. Even if you have some previous research experience, you can go to the other programs, but we're gonna start looking at your application later and kind of figuring out where you might be a better fit. But this is helpful for students that are thinking about getting into research and you're kind of like, what do I do next? This is gonna be helpful for you to look, okay, and navigate more easily. Okay. So what does our application process look like? We mirror this after graduate admissions. As I said, we're trying to get you prepared for graduate school. So we take that experience and we model it for our application process. So it is an online application. We do have 2 essays that you need to complete, similar to applying for graduate school with a personal statement or statement of purpose. So there are essays that you need to complete. We ask for a CV or resume. So most students don't know what this is. So a CV is a curriculum vitae. It's like your academic version of a resume. So we will accept a resume, but if you start working on a CV, that's great to submit. If not, we will help you create one because you will need that for graduate admission. 1 letter of recommendation, we do encourage you to find and connect with a faculty member on campus. So we do prefer it to be from a professor, lecturer, or potentially a TA. We will take it from a previous supervisor who can vouch for your work ethic, but just note that SOAR does require 2 letters of rec and 1 has to be from a professor. We will not take both from a previous supervisor or academic advisor, somebody that isn't familiar with research on campus. Copy of your academic transcript. Most of our programs do not require a specific GPA, some of them do. But we look at your transcripts to kind of see where your trajectory is. So if you're struggling maybe in your first few semesters and then we see an upward swing and you're getting prepared for graduate school, or maybe you had just 1 bad semester, particularly right now, a lot of our students are challenged with COVID-19. So we are considering the whole package. So we're not just gonna look at the GPA, we're gonna look at all of your academic performance. And as I stated previously, no prior research experience necessary except for those 2 programs. Okay. We typically look for rising juniors and seniors. So as transfer and possibly reentry students, you're in the perfect timing for us. Our programs are meant to get to students who have already taken some of the foundation courses. We're not going to teach you the basics of your discipline, but we want you to build on that knowledge. So as transfer and reentry students, we want you to start talking to us very quickly. These are the selection dates that you can see. UROC H is our fall application period. And then the rest of our programs are in spring semester. So February 1st through March 15th is the timeline to apply for those programs, all the other programs. Okay. So what can you do right when you get to UC Merced? As you come onto campus, or maybe you are already getting familiar with the area, focus on your courses, learn as much as possible. As you start engaging in the discipline, really challenge some of that information. What are people studying? Why is it important? Go to office hours and talk to professors. It can be intimidating for some students, but we want you to really get connected with them. Ask them about the research. They will love to talk to you about it. particularly if you're interested in possibly joining the research projects, they will really get excited. And then work on your resume. So as you're coming to campus, there are plenty of resources for you to get some support with that. But we want you to work on that before you apply for our programs. The other areas are more about you getting familiar with networking. So asking your TAs who are grad students currently at UC Merced, start connecting with them. What are their current research projects? What are they working on? What are their interests? And then you can also start asking about volunteering. As you come onto campus, a lot of students will look at research based on their connections with their current instructors. So in the fall semester, you can already start going to lab meetings or start working with the research group on campus and getting familiar with the research process. Apply to programs, as I said, quickly as possible. So if you see us presenting or hosting a workshop, come and talk to us. Feel free to come in to our office as well and get familiar with us, as well as additional opportunities that maybe you're not wanting to stay at UC Merced. We can help you find other opportunities elsewhere as well. So the next two things, we're actually going to have some slides for you to get some information. So then the next one is connecting with other undergraduate students. So start networking as you come into your discipline, as well as joining some clubs and orgs on campus. There's great opportunities for you to find people that are in your discipline or in your research group areas that have similar interests as you. We also have UROC alumni, and I'm gonna, on the next slide, I'm gonna show you a page where to find all of them with their research projects, their discipline, their faculty mentors, and a brief abstract of their research project during the summer. The other thing is to start looking at faculty. So this is your homework as you transition into the fall semester, is start looking at what the faculty are doing. So the next few slides are going to cover some of that. So this is our UROC alumni page. So you can look at the different programs and find alumni. All of them are listed. So it gives you an opportunity to find specifics about what research projects they hosted or conducted, as well as some information about the students. So then when you're joining clubs and orgs, you can always talk about like, oh yeah, I saw this research project by so-and-so. You might find somebody that is already connected to that person. They're like, oh yeah, that's my friend. I took a math class with them. Or, oh yeah, I did this research project with that person or interviewed somebody. It's a great way to start networking. The next thing is, where do you find faculty on our campus? So to find Senate faculty who conduct research, an easy way to do that is going to the graduate division website. So at UC Merced, you would start as an undergraduate student. Our graduate students are in specific programs based on their discipline. So this is where all of the disciplines at UC Merced have their graduate groups. So if you go to the website and click our programs, you'll see at the bottom of this slide, all of the academic graduate degree programs are listed. So as you go through to the next, or as you are clicking through them, so say I clicked Interdisciplinary Humanities, I will start seeing all of the faculty that are listed with links to their direct pages. This is a great way, again, to see who is working with which faculty members, what are their research projects, what current publications are they working on or have already submitted, excuse me. And particularly for interdisciplinary humanities, you'll see that there are faculty that are in history, anthropology. So it varies which graduate group you're looking at, but that gives you an idea of which faculty members are in that graduate program doing research that might align with your interests. So it's an easy way for you to kind of navigate and click through. So as I said, it's important for you to get connected with undergraduate students. So I'm going back to this slide to identify that some of the programs that we're going to highlight, we have scholars to join us today. So I'm nearing the end of my talking and I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves next. So if you have questions specific to a student or to their research area or to being a transfer reentry student, feel free to ask those questions because they will get those and we'll pose them to them as well. So on the next slide, these are three of our scholars who have joined us today who have been transfer students at UC Merced. So I'm going to ask Sarah to start us off with her introduction. So if you can turn on your camera, Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah. Jorge asked me to talk today because I was a UROC scholar last summer and last year. And then I will be a SOAR scholar for my last summer here. I'm a fourth-year history major with a minor in American Studies. I study the 19th century American West and what's called space, race, and place. I worked with Dr. David Torres-Roof over the summer on his Merced Chinatown project, where I started research on the end of the 19th century and policing Merced and its Chinese residents. I just finished a public humanities project funded by UROC H to turn my research partner Madeline Lara's research into an ArcGIS story map that was posted into the Merced County Courthouse Museum's archive. And I'm also a transfer student from Fresno City, so I know it's kind of weird getting into research, but honestly, it's fairly easy if you have an idea of what you want to do and you just start asking questions, which is the point of research anyway. And then my friend Harmeet is going to talk next. She did research for 2 years with that. So Harmeet, you want to undo yours?
Hi. Thanks for the introduction, Sarah. My name is Harmeet, and I transferred in from Mission College in Santa Clara as a sociology major, and I actually just graduated this past fall. My research project, I first started, well, let's begin. I didn't think that I was going to start doing research at all as a transfer student. Luckily, someone mentioned that I can apply to these diversity programs that are out of state. So I started my first research project at University of North Carolina, Charlotte. And it was actually to study community college and STEM majors and whether or not that they transferred. So it was really near and dear to my heart. And it was all qualitative research. My second research project and the most recent one is the one that's listed on the visual. And it was learning how to use statistics and SPSS and Stata, which are a quantitative software. So I got a good mix of qualitative first and then quantitative research skills. And I worked under Professor Irene Beatty, learning about what whether or not personal hardships impact undergraduate GPA. And next steps for me are to start my PhD in the fall at UCLA under the Higher Education and Organizational Change program. And a tip that I have for TRV students or transfer returning veteran students is to just try it. I personally felt the imposter syndrome my first summer. I didn't think that research was for me, but luckily the UROC program really encouraged me to try again, and I felt a lot of support, which is why now I'm on to my PhD. So, and I'm going to transition to Alex next.
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Alex Del Toro. I'm a fourth-year cognitive science major. And last summer, I had the privilege of working in Dr. Wolf's lab, where basically the project was understanding how ethanol or alcohol affects the central nervous system of the fruit fly. That's our model organism. This is my second year at UC Merced, so I'm in my last year. I'm in the UC Leads program, which is highly STEM focused. Even though my major is part of the SHAW, or the social science, humanities and arts, I want to go more towards neuroscience, neurobiology for my PhD. So I felt like it was relevant for me to be part of a STEM-based program at an undergraduate, so I can get experience in a wet lab, understanding how experiments work, and just getting familiar with the lab setting. And I came from a community college in Oakland called Laney College. Yeah.
Great. So Sarah, can you share, I think the other two went into what their next steps are, but can you share what your plans are?
Sure. So I applied to PhD programs in history, and I've accepted my admission at the University of California at Berkeley for their history PhD program, and I'll be studying under Brian DeLay there. So that'll be 7 more years of a brand new research project. So yeah, that's the next step. And then hopefully some sort of research institution or teaching at a community college.
To give back. Great. So if each of you, we haven't got any questions yet. So participants, if you have any questions, feel free to ask either to the students, to the staff, any of us can answer. But for the students, Sarah, Harmeet, Alex, can you give like one tip that you have or a piece of advice for, I know that Harmeet kind of answered that, but if you have anything else, feel free to jump in right now.
So I have a tip. Don't just pick your project based on like something you're interested in. Base it on who the faculty advisor is and what your relationship with them is. I got pretty lucky, and my faculty advisor just happened to be doing something that I was super interested in anyway. But it's really important to sort of not only be able to withstand that relationship when you're doing very stressful research over the summer, but it's important that that relationship is good, because they're going to be your firsthand knowledge into your discipline and the secret things that nobody tells you. And they're going to be writing your letters in a really personal way. So it helps if they're a good human being that you can get along with and that you trust. So that would be my tip.
Gotta learn how to do that. Another tip that I have is I feel like a lot of transfer students and just first gen students that are get involved in research for the first time, you face a lot of like doubts and a lot of imposter syndrome. And personally, I felt that in the first summer. And what changed for me for the second summer was the amount of support that I had from my peers, my friends that were also going through the same challenges, but also like the amazing benefits that come from like doing research. So definitely seek out support from the UROC staff, from your peers, your advisor. And I agree with you, Sarah, having a good fit with your advisor is definitely important. It really changes the way that you see the project as well. So.
For me, I would just say, since my research is not really aligned with my major, don't be afraid to just like explore different types of research, whether it's like directly aligned with your major or not. Don't feel like that's going to be a limitation for you. If you feel like you can do STEM-based research and you have the appropriate like foundational courses to do so, like go ahead and reach out to some faculty. That's really cool, because a lot of what research is heading towards is like interdisciplinary research, bringing into different aspects and to like do like a bigger body of like what's already known. So for me, cognitive science, it's really like a holistic approach to understanding the brain. So that was, and within cognitive science, we have neurobiology and neuroscience. So there is directly correlated. It's not directly correlated, but it's somehow linked. And I was able to find that connection. And I was able to, once when I was reaching out to my PI, I just was explaining like what I was interested in and what I wanted eventually to do. And he's like, you sound really enthusiastic. He's like, the biology aspect, he's like, it's going to take a little bit, like once you go into more of like the genetics and the neuro aspect of it, it can get really difficult. So that's been a little bit challenging, but it's nothing that you can't. If you're really interested about the subject, you'll find a way to make it happen. So don't be afraid to cross disciplines. Just make sure you have a plan of how you're going to approach it. And also like be ready when you meet with the faculty, like, or you want to meet with them like through email, just be ready with like, what have you been doing to prepare you for that major or for that particular research project that they're doing. So yeah, that's what I would say.
I have a question for you all. How did you navigate finding a person to write a letter of rec for you, since you've initially started at UC Merced and got into research?
When we applied to UROC?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I think, who did I ask? Oh, I was lucky enough to have taken a summer class. So when I transferred on an off semester. I transferred in the spring, and spring transfers tend to get like the last pick of classes. So I didn't have history class that first semester. But I had taken a history class over the summer with Dr. Kevin Dawson, And he was very encouraging in class. And so I felt very empowered to ask him to write me a recommendation. And I literally just walked in and said, I want to do this research project. Will you write a recommendation? Like, I'm that kind of person. And if you give me space, I will ask for a favor. If you're not that kind of person, I would say ask a professor from community college first, if you had a really good relationship with them. If it's your first semester in UC Merced, people usually go see their TAs a lot too. So if you have a good relationship with a TA, you can ask them as well.
Yeah, for me, I asked two people. One was from a professor from my community college who we had a really good relationship, and she was my sociology professor. And so she was always ready to write me a letter of rec, and it was both personable and also professional. But if you don't have that, I would recommend like your first semester, whether you want to stay in your major or not, to do research. If you're taking a class, like for example, I took one in sociology, my first operative class, and the professor and I got along well, and I took his class seriously, got an A in the class, and took another class in the spring semester. So by the spring semester, he knew me well enough to know my work and how I write. And so I asked him, his name's Professor Charlie Eden, and he was ready to write me a letter rec. So.
Was the question who'd you ask for your letter of rec?
Yeah, and how did you go about doing it as a transfer? If you asked somebody from your previous institution, or did you get connected with somebody at UC Merced?
Oh, okay. So like Sarah, I came in on the spring on an off semester, or off semester. And the applications for UROC were like 2 months or like a month out as soon as I started. So I had to like run around to find something, but I joined another program called STEP, which I'm actually working for now as a student coordinator. Back then, or like last year, the program coordinator, her name is Jur, I asked her to write it since I didn't really know anyone at UC Merced. I knew like one professor that I was like going to office hours, but Jur kind of was the one who, like, if she had suggested if I needed help that she would write it, and she wrote it for me. So I just asked the program that I was part of, I asked the coordinator to write it for me.
I would say like one thing I really had trouble with is, in my mind, asking for a letter of recommendation was like a huge imposition. It was like a lot of time that professors had to put into it, and like it's just like a pro forma thing anyway, and everybody has them. So like, should I really be asking for them? And I think somebody sat me down, I don't know who, but like just said, Sarah, this is like part of the job. We know this is part of the job. It's what we accepted as part of the job. And we know that this is how the academy functions. So don't be afraid to ask, because we almost expect it from you. So no matter who you ask, if they're in the university, they will expect at some point that people will be asking them. And it's just something that they schedule time in for anyway. So it's not an imposition.
Good advice, even for graduate admissions, right? So can you all share maybe like a challenge you had with transitioning to UC Merced as a transfer student?
So I had a fairly easy transition because I knew it would be hard because I don't like change. And so I went really active and made myself really busy so I could not have a hard transition. I will say the hardest thing, I think, was when I decided to pursue a PhD, which was different than what I came into UC Merced for. I came in to be like a high school history teacher. So I was going to do like education classes and field work and go straight into a credential program. I think switching my mindset and being intimidated by like what academia is and how it all works, I think that was a harder transition, but it came later. And I just dealt with it by like putting my nose to the ground and asking a billion questions and being annoying. And if you were going to give me 5 minutes to explain something to me, I was going to take 15. And so yeah, I guess that was the hardest thing.
For me, I think the hardest thing was adjusting not to the course load, but more so the way that professors taught here versus at a community college. My community college professors were always really involved and very supportive. And not to say that the professors here aren't, it's just a different type of support. And I think I struggled with what Sarah mentioned earlier, asking for a letter of rec, and just like talking to the professors because they're doctors. And so that was a struggle for me to you know, not be afraid to talk to these professors because they're just people like us. So that was one of the challenges that I faced. But overcoming that, I realized they're professors. Their job is to talk to students and help us. And so eventually I got over it.
I would say my transition was relatively smooth. I came in with an intention. I came in with a plan. Like I knew I was going to do undergraduate research. I didn't know how. So it was just a matter of coming to UC Merced and then finding which programs could help me. And then I found, like, besides UROC, I joined like some other programs, like for transfer students, and also like a trio program that we have on campus. And yeah, I just, like Sarah, and Harmeet, like I just made myself busy and I met people that way, and that's just what I did. And even if you're not like, don't like to put yourself out there, there's still ways to like meet people and, you know, eventually find, because it's kind of hard meeting people when you first come. I'm not gonna lie. It's because it's so like new. But once you start getting into these programs, you meet a lot of like-minded people who are trying to do similar things. So I would say, like, put yourself out there, and then you're gonna meet a lot of different people, and then from there you can decide like what you want to do.
So my next question for you all is, how did you confirm your mentor? How did you find somebody to work with at UC Merced?
Oh my gosh, you wouldn't leave me alone. So I had a class with him. I had History 133, which was Life and Death in the Old West. And he knew I had been sniffing around for people who would stay the summer and do research. And he had this project, and he had people who he needed help digging through the newspaper archive. And he had seen my project in that class, which was on a newspaper archive in Coronado, California. And he was just like, I would be super excited. Oh my gosh. And he would not stop. And so I said, sure, why not? I want to study Europe anyway, but like, who cares? And now I switched specialties because he wouldn't leave me alone. And yeah, so mine was pretty easy.
For me, I didn't know who my mentor was going to be at all. I just came back from studying abroad, and I didn't have, the connections that I had were kind of distant now. So I just cold emailed all the social faculty that were doing research and education. And so there was like 2 of them. And one of them got back to me saying, oh, she couldn't because she was going to be out of the state or something. So she couldn't be here physically, and that would be hard. So Irene Beatty ended up saying that she wanted to take me on. So that's how that happened.
Yeah, I found mine literally, there's no neuroscience program here at UC Merced, but I just typed in neuroscience and UC Merced, and that's where it gave me like 4 or 5 faculty. The neuro community is really small. I found 5 professors that were doing like neuro research, and then Fred Wolf, who's now my current PI, had the most interesting and relevant one to me. And I just literally cold emailed him. He's really good at emails back, so he emailed me right away, set up a meeting. And this was even before I got into UROC. So like I said, I knew I wanted to do research. I just didn't know how. But my thing was just like, okay, meet with the PI, or meet with the professor and see what they have going on. Luckily, I got into UC Leeds. And then that was more of a confidence boost, I think, for Fred to say yes, because he's like, great, I don't have to pay him. And then it just worked out really well. And I work in his lab now off, not even, and year round. So it's a lot of good experience that I don't think I would have gotten with another lab, because he does allow, like, he's really flexible and allows for your independence, like within a lab setting. So I think I got really lucky in how it worked out for choosing my PI.
So students, we had a question from one of the participants about campus life. So can you share maybe like the transition of coming to UC Merced and what it's been like being a student at the campus? How it was different maybe from your previous institution, or what your experience has been like as a student at UC Merced?
So I think one of the biggest differences is I went to a like highly commuter campus in Fresno. Like, people have kids and jobs, and so they just go to class and then they go home once class is over, and you don't really hang out on campus. I mean, like, there's Tobacco Alley, you know, where people are smoking. It's not fun to like hang out. But I think the biggest transition coming to UC Merced was that I had an opportunity to like partake in campus life, which is pretty rich here. I was heavily involved in the transfer returning of veterans program, and always in their lounge and drinking their coffee and meeting people there. And then I ended up working there this year. So then that just fed my TRV addiction. And I got involved in the Historical Society and the Undergraduate Historical Journal, which made friends in my major who were maybe traditional students that I wouldn't have met otherwise. And then just going to every single free event on campus to get free food. And there's like one every day, and you just meet people waiting in line. And I mean, there's always something to do, and there's always something free, and there's always new people to meet. So I mean, that would be the difference, is there's actually stuff to do on campus.
And the question was, what was the campus life like, or the biggest difference?
Yeah, campus life, and I just framed it as like, how is it different from your previous institution? Or like, can you just describe what you've done on campus, how you've gotten involved?
Yeah. So when I transitioned in the summer, I got actually hired for TRV, which used to be darts. So I got really involved with darts at the time, and that's how I made a lot of my friends and got connected with other programs such as STEP, and that's how I met a lot of people. And we would have get-togethers, we would have potlucks, and like meet each other at our houses and stuff. And then in addition to that, within my classes, like we had study groups and stuff, and so we would hang out either on campus or after class, whatever. So that's kind of how I made a lot of friends. And in terms of getting involved, I studied abroad like once, so like it kind of transitioned differently for me, but I still had friends and connected with them through TRV and then my courses.
For me, it was Oakland. It's pretty much in downtown, so like it's a like bustling city, and then to come here was a big change. Also, I was like really involved on my community college with other programs, like trio programs as well. So coming here, I knew like that's what I wanted to do as well, and that's exactly what happened. So now I just joining the trio program, but also like TRV and UROC really helped me. Like honestly, I don't go to the campus events, but if you want to go, you can go. I don't go because yeah, I just don't. But if you want to go, it's there. And yeah, it was really different from Oakland. Obviously, it's really different from the Bay Area, but it's what you make of it. Honestly, UC Merced is we're a chill campus, and we're just all trying to use it as the next platform to go somewhere else. So take advantage of it.
Any last words of advice or things that you would like to add as we end this? We're going to be coming to an end if there are any questions from the audience.
I would say take the whole thing as like a larger learning experience. Like you can get really myopic and focused on research and think like all I'm going to learn this semester is about this one cell or about this one Chinatown or whatever you think you're going to learn about it. But if you take a step back and sort of soak in the broader learning opportunities that you have, the idea that this is how knowledge is produced, this is how the academy works, this is how people interact in a professional level in the academy, this is how you can move from this stage to this stage. I think you'll get a lot more out of it than if you're just laser focused on what your project is or what your mentor wants you to read or what how you're going to get your poster done. Like, just take a step back and try to soak as much of it in as you can.
I see another question about transfer housing. Should we answer that first, or?
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's answer that question because it's coming up from the audience. Where did you all live?
My first year, I lived in it's off-campus housing, which was basically apartments that are not too far from campus. It was actually really nice. A lot of space. I had a roommate and a kitchen, a large living room, and I liked it. You had to pay like kind of the dorm fees for it, but for me, and you had a meal plan, as well as like they had CAD dollars. I don't know how they're doing it now, but yeah, it was fun. It was good for me. Like, and they had a bus that took us to campus, and that was within our fees. So that's where I used to live. And then when I came back, I ended up getting a house, and rent is not that expensive here. You can get it. I'm paying like $350 plus utilities, which is like roughly $50, so $400 per month.
I would say that housing option doesn't exist anymore. So just to clarify, the transfer housing that is now available is on campus, on site in dorms, and you'll be part of what's called a living learning community if you opt into that. And basically what that entails is it's a bunch of transfers squished together in the same block of housing, and that housing community works with the Transfer Returning Veteran Center on campus to coordinate study sessions, workshops, and events to bring that community together. So you have a chance to opt into that or just opt into like regular housing with traditional students, but there's no off-campus apartments anymore.
I will say that it is relatively, oh, sorry. I was just going to say something really quick, Alex. It is relatively easy for students to find housing off campus if you do not want to live on campus, but we do encourage you to consider on campus because of the access to all of the research and opportunities. Even if you don't want to go to events, as Alex said, he wasn't interested, it does allow you more ease if you're on campus compared to living off, but there's plenty of transportation and it's not a big city. So it is easy to navigate and get to different events on campus if you're off. Sorry, Alex, I interrupted you.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I live off campus. I found mine, I think I typed it in the Q&A thing. The UC Merced has an off-campus housing website. And I found my house there. And I pay relatively a little bit more than Harmeet, but it's still cheap for a really nice size house. And we don't share, like nobody shares a room, and basically everyone has either their own bathroom or shares it just with one person. But yeah, that's the beauty of UC Merced. You get to find really good housing for really good prices and without breaking your bank.
And then so Sarah gave her last piece of advice. Anything from Harmeet or Alex before we move on?
Yeah, I would just say don't be afraid to try research. Try it on and see if you like it. And if you don't like it, that's okay. You get skills that you didn't have before, and you can put that on your resume. And if you want to go to grad school, that looks amazing. So just try it. And you know, UROC is amazing, and they're there to support you, and they will pay you to do research. So what more can you ask for?
Okay. So seeing no other questions, coordinators, do you have any final thoughts or things that you would like to add before we move on?
I do not. I think you guys answered everything perfectly. all I do say, if you are interested in research, get involved now, do the research, look at the faculty that are available to you, check out what their research are. And if you're very interested, contact us, get in touch with us now. We can meet via Zoom or over email. Feel free to just reach out to us and ask more questions if you need to.
So thank you, scholars, for joining us for the webinar today. Any attendees, this is our contact information again. So if you want to follow us on social media, or if you are on campus in the fall semester and are looking for us, we're located in the Student Services building, currently on the 2nd floor. We're in a suite shared with the Career Center. It's known as the Center for Career and Professional Advancement, CCPA. These are our hours. You can also find all of the information about all of our programs and all of the scholars and alumni on our website, uroc.ucmerced.edu. So that ends our portion of tonight's webinar. And if, Ricky, if you can join back on and close us out.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Jorge, and thank you to everyone that joined us tonight, all of our panelists, as well as everyone that was in attendance, and also those of you that submitted some great questions. So I think we covered a lot of really good information tonight. Just as a wrap up, I'd like to let everyone know that we do have a website that lists all of our recordings and upcoming webinar events. We have events happening sometimes 2 a day for the month of April, so we're covering quite a bit this month. That website is admitted.ucmerced.edu/webinars. Again, it's admitted.ucmerced.edu/webinars. Just a few that are upcoming. We do have something happening tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock regarding the School of Natural Sciences. We have something on the 16th for the Guardian Scholars Program, supporting youth in the foster care system and those that are facing homelessness, and different programs that we offer for those folks. We have something that's going to be focused on student life on the 17th. We also have some others coming up from the Center of Career and Professional Advancement, the CCPA that Jorge mentioned as well. And then also a couple of special events specifically designed for parents and families that are supporting students. One of them will be on the 22nd. That will be for English language speakers. And then we also have one exclusively in Spanish on the 23rd. So as you can see, that's just a few of our upcoming events. Again, that website is admitted.ucmerced.edu/webinars. Once again, a big thank you to the UROC program, the Undergraduate Research Opportunities Center here at UC Merced, for a great presentation. And one last time, admitted.ucmerced.edu/webinars. On behalf of the University of California, Merced, and all of my colleagues online with us this evening, a very big thank you to all of you for joining us. Have a wonderful evening.